I haven't seen him at all since breakfast." Filomena wrinkled her nose. "Probably in the pantry, gorging himself on communion wafers." Isabella shook her head. "Caesar would never do that. Well, not since I told him not to." Caesar's gluttony was indeed a problem, and unfortunately not the only one affecting the giant dog. He had been badly brought up. He simply could not conceive of listening to anyone but Sister Isabella. He had a stubborn mind of his own and just didn't like to be told what to do. "He just needs time to get settled with us." Isabella felt obliged to protect him from the abbess. After all, Caesar was the newest member of their community, and he would take some time to get used to it. The stray Saint Bernard had bounded into Isabella's life while she was out jogging through the vineyards and had chosen her, of all people, as his new mistress. Caesar had previously belonged to the tramp Gaetano. The latter had fallen victim to a terrible crime, and the homeless dog had become an orphan. In a unique display of democracy, the entire order had voted against the will of the abbess to keep the dog in the convent. This was a clear victory for Isabella, who had proposed the vote to keep him. But the abbess could harbour a grudge, and since then she had been giving the unfortunate sister grief at every opportunity. Filomena was only too happy to give Isabella unpleasant tasks that no one else wanted to do. Thus, in addition to her tri-weekly market service, Isabella had been given the additional task of looking after the oblate who had lived in the convent for the past few weeks. That was fine. She liked Donna, and felt this task was meaningful and served the convent. But supervising the plumber's work was a bridge too far. Some time ago, the convent's aged heating system had given up the ghost. Its passing was only noticed when one day there was no more hot water. This painful circumstance had persisted for some time. Isabella couldn't even remember her last hot shower. It was just as well that they had noticed the damage in the summer and not in the cold, wet months of winter. In their weekly meeting in the sacristy, the abbess had remarked that Isabella was surely divinely ordained for this project, as she was the only one of them with any degree of technical knowledge. Filomena had come to this assumption because she had spotted Isabella working with the village Carabiniere, Matteo Silvestri, on his Vespa, tinkering around with the engine. So it was up to her to hire craftsmen to take care of the ailing heating system. It quickly became clear that this would prove a hopeless undertaking. The heating installation people from Santa Caterina and the surrounding area who had been invited to the abbey had all thrown up their arms in despair when they had seen the pre-war pipes. They had all been of the opinion that the convent needed a brand new heating system, but the sisters couldn't afford a complete replacement. So Isabella had had to keep looking, and had finally resorted to posting notices in all the shops in the area. Urgently sought, plumber for heating repair in the abbey. Nothing had happened for a few days. But then, finally, 2 workmen had come forward who claimed to know about this particular type of heating system. An outright lie, as Isabella had learnt her cost, for ever since the 2 self-proclaimed heating professionals had got to work, large parts of the convent had resembled a construction site. Since the cloister was the shortest route to anywhere else, it was now being used as the workmen's main thoroughfare. Unfortunately, it had rained torrentially all night long, and the 2 craftsmen were quite unconcerned about the havoc they were wreaking with their muddy shoes. Still holding the bag with the bone in it, Filomena looked around with narrowed eyes. "When will this chaos end?" she demanded of Isabella. "They've been at it for 2 weeks." "Well, it seems to be more complicated than we thought," Isabella said, echoing what the pair had told her that morning in response to the same question. "The heating system is old. Spare